Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah you're well, guys. So today I'm going to speak about 3 fatal mistakes to avoid during the application process. Now you guys should be well and truly into your applications. If you're not, honestly get off your backside, get into gear and start applying, because A, most organizations, if not all, have already opened up their schemes for apprentices and graduates, and B, I've already spoken to a few people who are already attending assessment centers at the end of this month. So you're behind the game and need to play catch up. Now, the first mistake, which you probably already guessed, is make sure you avoid applying too late. Apply as soon as possible. Now, you may be sitting there and thinking, why? These schemes will normally be open for a few months and they'll have a closing deadline in place. So why would I rush? I'll just apply shortly before that deadline. Now, a few years ago, that approach may have worked, but competition has increased massively. Now there are more and more people getting higher grades. People are naturally much smarter than, say, I was. And that means that there are more people eligible for these various schemes. So when I was applying, there may have been, say, 20 to 30 applicants for each position. Now, I'd say the ratio is as high as 50 applicants for each position. That means that the most popular schemes in particular, such as the Big Four, Top 10, FTSE 100, they may receive thousands of applications for their vacancies. Now, clearly there aren't enough jobs to go around. So what these organizations may do is that once they've maxed out their spaces for their assessment centers, they may close off the application process. So even if you've applied, got past the application process, maybe done some online tests, passed those, and say you're waiting for a first round interview, that's it. It's over. They've closed the application process. So even if you're part way through it, you've lost that opportunity. People will message me regularly about this. So they've applied to a company or an organization, they've done the online application form, they've done the test, maybe a first round interview. But then it's been weeks since they've last had an update. The company is ghosting them. What do you do in that situation? So I always advise getting in touch with HR. They're the department that are responsible for looking after applications. And normally you can find a general shared email address for HR on the company's website. Look at their recruitment pages. You should be able to find a contact us section. But I wouldn't be too hopeful for a response. I know last year a few people didn't actually receive an email back or a response back from HR. And I don't blame them. If they're dealing with thousands of applicants, they're not going to be able to respond to all queries. So my best advice to you is regularly check job boards, regularly check organizations' websites, and apply as early as possible. The second mistake is being too focused on a particular career path, which ends up in you limiting yourself. Now, you may be looking at me at this stage and thinking, has this guy lost it? How is that a fatal mistake? It's good to be focused on a career path. And I absolutely agree. So let me explain further. So I will speak with people who know what they want. They're very clear. They've already done their research. They've spent time speaking to people in different industries. They know that, as an example, if they want to work in practice, they only want to go into consulting. They don't want to go into any other service line. Or they may only want to work for a particular organization. So these guys would have already made their short list of organizations that they want to apply to, say maybe 5 to 10 organizations, and they'll go about their applications. They'll have a clear structure in place. And so far, it sounds all good. But guess what? They don't have a plan B in place. Now, I've seen people in my experience apply to 30 to 40 organizations and get just one job offer. Just the one job offer. So what makes you think that you're going to apply to, say, 5 to 10 organizations and get a job offer? You may not get a job offer. That's why it's always good to have a plan B in place. Remember, guys, no one is perfect at interviews. If I had to go through the application process again for apprenticeships, I'd be happy with just one offer. And remember that in every single application, you will always be thrown a curveball, a situation which you're not prepared for, or you can't think as quick as you'd like on your feet. And guess what? That may be the reason that you don't secure that job offer. So it's always good to have a backup plan in place. The third and final fatal mistake, guys, is not thinking outside the box. So a lot of people will apply for organizations, do their best, and that's it. They won't stop and think, how can I use this situation to my advantage? Let me give you an example. So say you're a graduate, you're really determined, you want to join only a Big Four scheme. Absolutely fine to have that goal in place. But remember what I said, guys, always good to have a plan B in place. So as part of that plan B, you apply to firms in the top 10. Now, because you're thinking outside the box, you're going to apply tactically. You're going to apply to the top 10 firms first. Why? Because it's the first time you're doing this. You're not really sure about the process. So you're happy to make mistakes in your applications for top 10 firms. Learn from those mistakes, and then you can apply to the big four and hopefully smash out a good application. But remember, the first mistake, guys, don't apply too late. So what I'd probably do is space the applications about 10 days apart in that instance. So on day one, I'd apply for a number of top 10 firms, but then apply for the big four firms from day 10 onwards. Another example of outside of the box thinking is doing research on job threads. So when I was applying for apprenticeships years ago, we would post our experiences on sites such as Wikijobs and the Student Room. Both sites I think are still around, so it's definitely worth doing your research, seeing who's posting. Someone may post the actual questions that they were asked. And it's always fine to directly message someone and say, hey, can you just spare 5 minutes, just tell me about your experiences? What did they ask you? And how did you find it? It's absolutely fine to do that. As well as job threads, you've also got job support sites. So a website I definitely recommend is assessmentday.co.uk. So they offer online tests which you can practice before you go and do the real thing in the application. I think it costs around £40 for a year's access. Definitely worth the investment. You don't want to go in and do these tests without any practice, because trust me, they are quite hard and it's probably likely that you will fail. Another tool I'd recommend is LinkedIn Premium. So you guys probably have a LinkedIn profile already, use it to message people, connect with people. But the benefit of Premium is that you also get in-mail messages, which means you can message people directly who don't sit in your connections. So if you want to do more research, find out about a particular service line, speak to someone who works at a particular company, I definitely recommend Premium. The great thing about it is normally there's loads of offers around, so you can get the first month or even 2 months for free. Another example of outside the box thinking comes from people who don't take no for an answer. So these guys will apply for jobs, may find themselves being rejected, but guess what? They're not going to stop there. They're going to apply again, but this time using a different email address. Now, I'm not going to sit here and give you a lecture on whether that's right or wrong, whether you should do it, whether you shouldn't do it, if I'm against it, if I'm for it. Guess what? You do what's best for you. But just one thing to bear in mind, guys, with that is that firms have become clued up on that over the last couple of years. So you may find that if you do apply again using a different email address, through your personal details, i.e. your name, address, etc., they may identify that you've already applied before and then kick out your application automatically. Normally, these checks are done by HR when they're arranging the first round interview. So if you do get kicked out at this stage, it's not been a total waste of time, because you would have done the application form and the online test again. So you would have got some good practicing. So you may be thinking that this outside the box thinking takes a lot of time, effort, even money in some instances. Is it really worth it? I don't think it is. But let me put it to you another way. You're going to be applying for a job which will help propel your career. It's going to be your first job in your professional career, and hopefully it will help you earn the big bucks later on in life. Is that worth you spending several hours and maybe £100-200 at most helping you secure a job? I definitely think it is. Linked to that, guys, there may also be additional benefit in you making all of those applications. So you may be someone who's quite determined, you know what you want, you only want to join a big four firm. But actually you apply to companies in the FTSE 100, in the top 10, and you go for an interview, you like the offices, the people who interview you, you may also like the work culture, the training opportunities, there's loads of positives. And actually, that helps you make an informed career decision in that you thought you wanted to join the big four, but actually your perceptions have changed because of all of those applications. And now you want to go into either a top 10 firm or a company in the FTSE 100. I've just given you another reason why you should always attend your interviews. And remember, guys, that was my biggest regret when I was applying for apprenticeships. Yes, I did get an offer on a chartered accountant training scheme. I haven't looked back since. It was great. But I do think and wonder sometimes, what if I had gone for that interview at BP in Canary Wharf? What if I'd attended all my other interviews? Would I still have accepted the NAO? I don't know. Why do I have that regret? Because I didn't attend all my interviews. So guys, I just want you to make sure that you avoid the mistakes that I did. But inshallah, I'll leave it there, guys. As always, any questions or queries, please feel free to comment below or message me on Instagram.